These theories will make you question everything. So remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
Do you know why casinos use carpets with ugly patterns? It's because they want you to find it unappealing.
So what's supremely interesting to me is that these companies, they can, down to the most minute detail, engineer this. Yet if any of us were to do this in a business per se, we would be convicted of fraud or false advertising.
Yep.
Moreover, the way that these corporations are allowed to do the focus groups and the studies and the research to engineer things down to basically like hold your senses hostage on the back end without you even knowing. If any of us were to do that, we'd be called a psychopath and we'd be given the electric chair, the firing squad, or life in prison. Isn't it amazing? We all know corporations have more rights than people for the most part.
Sad.
Even though corporate personhood, we can get into that definition, Black's Law Dictionary, all that stuff, yada yada. But we all know businesses seem to just skate. They may get a slap on the wrist from time to time for a couple milli, whatever. It's people who don't get away with this. If you're too meticulous as an individual, especially when it comes to advancing your own interests, i.e. business or whatever, they look at you like you're a psychopath, or they look at you like you are doing something nefarious. Like I said, like you're either committing fraud or false advertising or manipulating, baiting and switching, or manipulating the customers to some sense. So if you're an individual doing this, like if you had a shop that looked like a casino, right, had all these things that tricked your eyes to, go to certain products and buy them, you would be called a master manipulator, and you'd have the book thrown at you. But a casino, it's just business as usual. Or, politics as usual, as Jay-Z would say. Obviously, understanding the fine particulars of how the human mind and sensory apparatus works is not illegal at all. However, it seems that when corporations exercise this knowledge, it's totally condoned. And yet when an individual uses it, it's seen as, well, now, there's probable cause, there's reasonable suspicion. What are you doing? What are you trying to? You trying to pull the wool over people's eyes? Whereas these casinos are trying to pull the wool over people's feet. Share your thoughts, hit that like and hit that follow button.
If he gonna keep talking like this, he might need to, every time before he get ready to start talking and get into that truck, he might need to check it for bugs, bro, because he really spitting some stuff right now. You know what I mean? And it's true. It's true, bro. You know what I mean? At least my opinion of it is true. Because if we do something, or that type of mind manipulation, or that type of manipulation, period, it's looked to it, and we attract people and we manipulate, it's looked at us like we have like a cult going on. You know what I mean? If we do that. But businesses, as you clearly heard, they do different things to manipulate. Why is it that they have an ATM ever so often? Huh? Why do they do different things? Why do they constantly give you drinks? I went to one casino in Florida. They were giving massages. They were giving a massage at the slot machines. At the machines, bro. A lady standing there giving a person a massage. I'm like, of course, yes, you gotta have some sort of self-control, but come on, man. It's certain things, the sounds that take place at a casino, the sounds that go off, making you think that somebody's constantly winning, and the bells and the different horns and everything, that it's all a manipulation to keep you there, keep you coming back, keep you, you know what I mean? Activate certain sensories in your body. Like, it does a lot. So yeah, man, I do feel a certain type of way. Not that I want to manipulate people, but how are you just allowed to do that?
Hindenberg Research came in hot yesterday, claiming that they were going to out the largest fraud in corporate history. Then last night, we found out that it was Gautam Adani's Adani Group. Gautam, of course, is the third richest person in the world and the richest person in Asia. Hindenberg claims that the Adani Group is a web of lies. There's accounting fraud, stock manipulation, all the good stuff. And in case you're unfamiliar with how short sellers like Hindenberg work, it's pretty simple, really. They short a stock and then they drop these reports. Now, if that seems sketchy as that's because a lot of people think it is. Companies like Hindenburg say that they're doing society a solid, while other people just assume that it's stock manipulation.
It is.
And when you see this evil-looking dude who started Hindenburg Research, it probably shouldn't come as a surprise that he's rooting for others to fail. Hindenburg Research came in hot yesterday.
So if that's not stock manipulation, then what is it then? What is stock manipulation then? If you're going to drop news that's going to spook people about companies or your company or whoever it is, that should not be allowed, bro. And then you're allowed to short that stock. Why else are you shorting it then? Why? Like, come on, man. Like, come on, bro. Don't do that to me, man. No. And I'm one to sit here and I do believe it's manipulated. The whole market, I believe, is manipulated. But that's a whole conversation for another day if y'all want to go down that rabbit hole for a while.
To come clean, it reads in part, the dossier has been largely discredited by 2 federal investigations and the indictment of a key source, leaving journalists to reckon how, in the heat of competition, so many were taken in so easily because the dossier seemed to confirm what they already suspected. End quote. And investigative journalist Glenn Greenwald tweeted this: the corporate media knows it can't get away with ignoring their major role in this fraud any longer, but is still trying to limit the damage. Meanwhile, Congressman Jim Jordan of the great state of Ohio says if some of the media can come clean about the dossier, so can Adam Schiff. Watch.
Thank goodness they admitted that there was wrong statements in all these stories in the past, but people need to be held accountable. It seems to me Adam Schiff should be able to do the same thing because, frankly, everything we said about this over the last several years turned out to be true.
And the New York Times op-ed I just mentioned points out, quote, the situation also became complicated because some reporters simply didn't like or trust Mr. Trump or didn't want to appear to be on his side. He had been berating journalists as charlatans while seeking their acclaim. In a perfect world, journalists would treat people they don't like the same way they treat people those who they do like, but this is not a perfect world. Or why can't we just not know whether or not a journalist likes somebody? Why can't they just do their job without holding up a sign that says one thing or the other? To come clean, it reads in part.
Come on now. When, like, we all know this type of stuff takes place, at least in the back of our mind. We may not have no concrete, conclusive evidence that that type of manipulation is going on, or they use the news and different ones for their own agenda and stuff like that. Come on, man. We all know certain news outlets are just as bad and corrupt as anything else out there, and they use the news for their own gain. Like, come on, man. Nobody's ever held accountable. That's why I laughed when he said that. That's like when you went to school and if your teacher did something wrong, you always felt some type of way because you was like, man, they ain't gonna do nothing to this. This is the teacher. They ain't gonna do nothing. It's the same way when we got out in the real world. It's politicians and different ones that we see constantly doing wrong. Who's gonna hold them accountable? So what makes me think the news outlets are gonna be any different? No. Only when it goes against a specific politician or something like that, and they make a big fuss, and then, but you rarely see that as well. So I feel like we live in a world where there's hardly any accountability.
2 corporations owned by Donald Trump were convicted of criminal tax fraud. For a corporation, rather than a human, to be convicted of a crime, the employees and contractors of the company must collectively have had the intent and completed the actions of the crime. And that condition can be legally satisfied even if none of the employees or contractors committed a crime themselves, although in this case, at least one employee, CFO Alan Weisselberg, was also convicted of fraud. However, since corporations can't go to jail, the punishment is usually just financial, and the guilty corporations here will be fined about $1.6 million. Now, Donald Trump himself was not charged.
Y'all don't think they know that going into it? I feel like that's the play. Listen, we gonna do such and such, such and such. If something happened, you won't take a hit, the company will. You know what I mean? We dissolve the company, we do whatever we do to the company, move on to the next one. And that's what they do. They know that going into it. They're not slow. I feel like that's the game plan for them.
Charged with anything during this case, but armed with admissions made by Trump Organization employees as part of the case, Prosecutors may now charge Donald Trump himself with a criminal role in these tax frauds. Also, parallel to all of this, there is an already ongoing civil lawsuit against Trump, Trump's family, and Trump's businesses seeking $250 million for financial statement fraud. And there's the ongoing criminal investigation against Trump regarding documents found in the Mar-a-Lago raid, an ongoing criminal investigation against Trump in Georgia for his conduct around the 2020 election, and ongoing proceedings against Trump for his actions on January 6th. Now, earlier this year, the Republican National Committee warned Trump that they would not pay his legal bills anymore if he announced a presidential bid for 2024. But of course, Trump announced his bid anyway, which means he's set up for some very expensive legal bills next year. Two corporations.
Why were they paying his bills in the first? You know what? Never mind. Never mind. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It's just certain things that you think about. I couldn't catch that one coming out. But anyway, you know, it's again back to what I said before. When countries look at us, bro, I know they just laugh, they shake their head, and it's embarrassing at this point, man, what we go through and what outsiders see going on with us. All of this stuff for the past few years has been headlined in the news. That's all they talk about. I can cut the news right now, and that's all they're talking about, besides the general election and everything going on with that. But it's been a non-stop circus. Circus, that's the best word for it.
Breaking news, Sam Bankman-Fried is going to prison. The news came out less than 10 minutes ago that he has been convicted on all 7 charges, which are 2 counts of fraud and 5 counts of conspiracy. So many of you guys were convinced that he was never going to see a day in prison because of his hundreds of millions of dollars of political donations. But despite all this, it took the jury less than 5 hours to find him guilty. It looks like a slam dunk case. And the next step is sentencing, where I agree with Tristan Snell that it looks like he's going to prison likely for a long, long time. Goodbye and good riddance, Sam. Breaking news.
Man, I feel bad for everyone who got scammed out of some type of crypto situation and all that kind of stuff, man. I feel bad for people, bro. This is going down in history. These things that are going on and taking place will be in the history books or on the history tablets that whatever the kids read out of in class nowadays, bro. This stuff here, man, it's sad. And the thing about we lived through it. We saw it firsthand. We saw the whole craze with the crypto and you know what I mean? And I kept saying the entire time, bro, we don't have enough information about it. Where did all these so-called gurus come from if this thing is still new?
The Me Too movement initially started with women deserve to have a voice.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? We are not being heard. And I totally agree with that.
Yep.
But then let's not act like this last couple years. We have not seen people, if they just don't get their way, they just come out and be like,
So-and-so did.
Oh,
that
he
to me.
he raped me.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement.
We're going to go down this rabbit hole. Not today, but we're going to do a video on this because I want to hear y'all's thoughts or see y'all's thoughts in the comment section and responses about the whole movement. People coming back from, and trust me and believe, I'm not saying if you were ever done wrong and you know what I'm saying? But some of it just comes off as you wanted to check. You see this person is up now and how can you verify? Like, it's so many questions that I have, but I want to hear from other people other than just my thoughts about it. Because some of it that comes out and you just feel wrong about it. It just feels so wrong. Some stuff that comes out, I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? Get your justice. Please get your justice. Some things just feel wrong and it feels like, oh, this is just about a check. This is just about a check. And the sad part is, it's no way for us to know with it being so long ago.
Jen, can we have a comment for the people who are not in court? You made an apology. Can you make another apology here, please?
Thank you, excuse me.
How you doing?
Now, this lady here sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. Wire fraud. Scheming and defrauding the elderly. To me, that's the lowest of the low, bro. Lowest of the low. And I tell you why. No, I ain't even gonna say that. I'm gonna tell you another situation that I seen. And that, I don't know if it's just me, man. I have 90, how old is my grandmother? 88. About to turn 89, bro. And it would break my heart for somebody to scam her. It would probably send me into a place that I would never want to go into. And it would be very bad for me and pretty much detrimental to others around me and my family. It wouldn't be no good coming out for me to go to that place. But I watched a video last night of 2 women scam a lady at church. At church. Yo, there's a special place in you nowhere for you for that. You know what I mean? A special place. It's gonna be very warm and hot there. The lady came into the church. She was sitting down, putting her stuff down. 2 girls approached her, was talking to her, and then asked her would she pray with them. The elderly lady prayed with them, and as she's leaning over to pray and hold one of the girl's hands and bow her head and close her eyes and pray, the girl behind her is sticking her hands in her purse and pulling out her wallet and taking out credit cards and stuff, and then they went on a shopping spree. Like, under the jail is where they, like, I was so hot over that, bro. I just felt my blood boiling, man. So, yeah, stuff like this, I gotta, cause I feel nothing for them. I feel nothing for them, man. Nothing. And I guess I gotta work on that part of me, man. But I just hate to see an elderly, defenseless person get taken advantage of like that.
I'm gonna need you not to take one for the team. Like, just don't. I'm reporting on a recent study of a compliance officer at a pharmacy being indicted for $50 million healthcare fraud. Now, the compliance officer helped conceal the pharmacy's fraudulent activity when they were waiving copays and selling pharmaceutical drugs to patients in relationship to a kickback scheme where they were reimbursing providers for prescribing these unnecessary medications to patients. Now, this compliance officer will be serving years and years and years in prison for the actions of their organization and because he helped with the concealment. Now, when you're part of an organization, sometimes you feel obligated to do what your boss tells you to do, but don't commit fraud and don't go to jail for someone's bad behavior. Thanks.
Man, I hope this isn't a situation where you're like, I didn't know. I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. That's why you gotta know, man, these jobs you be getting into. And sometimes you it's a feeling and you're like, man, something about this isn't right. Sometimes you gotta listen to your gut, but oftentimes, man, you just gotta know that business and know what you're getting yourself into so you could be like, nah, you gotta protect yourself, man, because they'll let you take the fall for some stuff. They will, bro. They will let you take the fall for it and move on to the next person that's willing to do it again.
Starting January 1st, 2024, there's something called the Corporate Transparency Act that's going to probably impact about 30 million people who have LLCs. Although they may not be able to come back and get people, whether it's through the PPP fraud and all of this stuff, they going to hit you in other ways. Essentially, the Corporate Transparency Act is to prevent people who have bogus LLCs, and what it's going to make and force you to do is to provide all of your personal information for anybody who sets up the entity or anybody who has at least 25% ownership of every single LLC in North America. Now you may be saying, well, Will, why does this matter? It matters because once this act is instituted, for every single day that you do not provide the information that the government is forcing you to provide, they will fine you $500 per day. Starting January 1st.
Yep. Queen was just talking to me about this the other day. You know what I mean? Because we have we have a few LLCs and different things like that, and she had just found that out. And as she is the tax person in the household, she was breaking it down to me like, okay, for each day that you don't give this is a fine that goes against you. And then if you have multiple LLCs, bro, that stuff adds up. And then I think it's also jail time, but don't quote me on that if it goes for so long or something like that. You'll be sitting in jail over an LLC or something. So, yeah. If y'all haven't heard about this, you need to look into it and get the information. If it pertains to you and you have multiple LLCs and stuff like that, get on it. Please get on it.
Daggum, TikTok ought to give us more than 3 minutes, so let me see if I can do this. I've been trying to calculate just what the hell's going on here. Now, I got 4 corporations here. Walmart, United States, which is a corporation, Title 18, United States Code 3002, Section 15, A, B, and C. River City, County, and State is a subsidiary of the parent corporation, which is District of Columbia. Now, I got a concrete company, and I got a store. It's my gas station. Little town, my gas station. Now, if the concrete company and my gas station, we are 2 corporations. If we want to engage in commerce with one another, we make an agreement. Now, the concrete company, they want to come over here and put gas on credit, and then they conduct commerce with my gas station, purchasing gas from me. Now, what right does the United States have to engage in our commerce between our 2 corporations? When we incorporated ourselves with the corporate United States by getting a license. Supreme Court has established you do not have to have a license for a fundamental right. Now, it's a fundamental right that if I want to come and purchase a vehicle out of your yard, would mean you can engage in commerce with each other, and the government has no right to get involved. Same way if we want to get a business started. Okay? We can engage in commerce, and the only thing that governs commerce between my corporation and your corporation, the concrete company, is the agreement that we make. So where we make our mistake is getting a business license or getting incorporated with the United States Incorporated. We get incorporated with them, and then they butt their into our business. So anyways, it's all of those bullshit agreements, those licenses and all that, where you don't have to have that to engage in commerce. Now, the Constitution says that the government has the right to govern commerce when in interstate travel, I believe. But where they lose that constitutional provision is when they incorporated the United States, and there is no longer any government, legitimate government. It's all a corporation. The legislatures are not lawmakers, they're policy makers, statutes and codes. They cannot make a law. So they cannot govern commerce unless you incorporate yourself with them. Become unincorporated with the corporate United States.
And licensing and registrations, man, brings them involved in the whole situation. Listen, this is the same thing we've been talking about for the longest, especially like when I called them like they're no different from the mob, and how the mob would go around to different businesses back in the day and be like, we'll provide you a protection for a fee. You know what I'm saying? It's similar to that in the way they bogart their way into different things and be like, okay, you got to give the government this stuff. But y'all had nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this. Like, it's going to take all of us coming together, and the sad part about that is that just will never happen. You know what I mean? We can't even come together on simple things, let alone something like this. That's going to require a lot of uniformity and brain power to come together and figure this out and then to go back at them. It's going to take much togetherness, and we can't do that. We're so much of a nation divided. It's sad. It's sad.
If you pay taxes in this country, you're going to want to hear this. I paid taxes to the IRS last year via their website. Payment processor is USA Tax Payment. I made 3 separate payments, all in the amount of $3,000. USA Tax Payment is claiming they didn't get one of those payments, even though it came out of my bank account, and the bank also has an electronic trace number to show that they did in fact receive that money. They're reporting to the IRS that they never got it. I have contacted the IRS numerous times about this situation, and they say it's a personal matter between me and USA Tax Payment. I have contacted USA Tax Payment many times, and nobody ever answers the phone. One day, I sat on hold for 3 hours waiting for somebody to answer the phone, praying somebody would answer. I have also reported them to the Better Business Bureau because I am not the only person that they have scammed out of money, saying that they don't have the payment. This is criminal behavior from corporations stealing money from U.S. taxpayers. Like, I am so furious about this situation because $3,000 is a lot of money, especially in our economy right now. Like, I can't afford to just have $3,000 taken from my bank account and not credited to what I needed it to be credited to. How are companies allowed to get away with this type of criminal activity? I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I want USA Tax Payment to credit the IRS and show them that I made this payment. I've got evidence to prove that I did. And I want them to take accountability for all of the American taxpayers who have reported them on the Better Business Bureau for stealing money from them too. But making a report is not enough. Like, I need the IRS to say that they have that money so that I don't continue to owe that money. And I need your help to do that. Blow this video up, share this video, help me help all the other people who are having problems with USA Tax Payment and the IRS.
I know your frustration. So I just had a similar situation like this with taxes go on, right? We were trying to take care of property taxes. And in certain states, the way you submit them and pay, it's not like you could just, we were there to be able to come right directly into the office. So the way we did it online was the way they told us to do it, right? And when we submitted the payment to take care of it, they signed for it and everything, because we're not just gonna mail you something. No, we're gonna make sure we send it certified to where you're able to sign for it. We know you received it. There's a record for our bank and everything like that. And they signed for it, and we're saying, okay, but when we call them, they say they haven't received it, but somebody in their office signed for it. So we had to go back and forth with our bank, and the bank is telling us, well, with the way you did this payment, it has to be so many days before we can actually step in and try to reverse the charges or something, especially, or go about the proper steps of putting the money back. Especially when they're saying they haven't received it. So, bro, this type of stuff that takes place these days and transaction-wise and different things is frustrating. And then there's nobody ever held accountable as far as the corporation goes. Like, we need somebody to take care of the little people, the workers, the people who are, like, we need people to take care of us. Like, it's crazy. I know her frustration, bro, because I was just recently dealing with that. They ended up, because we kept calling. Like, at that point, you're going to become a pest. And I didn't care because I had submitted my money. So, yeah, you're going to have to deal with me every day. So, she kept calling. Queen kept calling, and eventually they got the payment. And they said it was in the office just miraculously. But we had it showed us. Y'all had already signed for it a few days ago. So, I don't know, but yeah, that gets frustrating, and I feel her pain, and I hope everything works out for her, because what do you do at that point in time, bro? Like she said, $3,000 ain't something to sneeze at, man. That's hard work of your money. No. Listen, man, y'all got me in the comment section and let me know what y'all thought of this video. And stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone.